Greetings, greetings, greetings. I am excited to be with you all today at the Nonprofit CEO Summit 2021. I want to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Tiffany Bell and her team for allowing me this opportunity to be a part of this awesome movement. Yes, I said movement and I did not say event, because now is a better time than ever for nonprofit organizations that have a strong commitment to serve and a clear vision to arise during this occasion. I truly believe that during this pandemic is a great time to establish and or grow your nonprofit organization. Well, a little bit about me. I am Dr. Fayola Dalika. I'm a native of Miami, Florida. I am your passion and purpose activator. I help you to live out loud by bringing your vision and dreams to pass by identifying your passion and purpose in the areas of business, ministry, and nonprofit. In addition, I am an international TV host, influence specialist, and governmental strategist. I have won international awards in the following categories: ministry leader, healthcare professional, serial entrepreneur, motivational speaker, beauty queen, and multiple #1 international and domestic best-selling author. I have founded 2 organizations, the 360 Evolution Academy, which is a holistic etiquette school for youth, where we train our kids with life skills and personal and professional development. It was established in 2014. As well as Revive Your Soul Ministries Incorporated. Both of them are a nonprofit 501c3 registered in the state of Florida. And Revive Your Soul Ministries Incorporated is a ministry where we focus on equipping Christians to be successful in their faith. I also serve in various nonprofit organizations in some kind of leadership capacity, whether as a board member or a leader. I am the treasurer for the Haitian American Faith-Based Network, as well as a board member for the University of Miami School of Nursing and Health Studies. I have served other organizations in the past, such as professional nursing organizations, social service organizations, ministries, and other nonprofit entities. Well, that's a little bit about me, but I would like to take this time to give my disclaimer. I am not an attorney or a tax preparer. I'm providing you this information as a nonprofit professional and consultant. Well, today we are going to be talking about how to leverage your nonprofit organization in today's market. My objectives for today are understanding the process of how to establish your nonprofit organization, knowing the benefits of legitimizing your nonprofit organization, and identifying the keys to success in establishing and growing your nonprofit organization. As someone who has founded many nonprofit organizations as well as served nonprofit organization, it is vital to understand what does it mean to be a nonprofit organization? What does it take to establish it properly? And that is key for success. I always teach my clients, and when I talk about the nonprofit sector and understanding your nonprofit is a business. It is not a for-profit business, meaning you are not established in creating money for revenues, but it is a business. And that is important to understand for nonprofit organizations and professionals. Because in realizing when you're registering your business, whether through your state or the federal government, it is falling into a category of a business entity. It is just considered a nonprofit. And so in understanding, you need to know what it takes in order to be established a nonprofit from the county level, the state level, and the federal level. But I always tell individuals before they get to that point, have you done your research? Have you identified organizations in the communities that you are seeking to serve? Is an organization already established in doing what you want to do? And if there is there opportunity to partner, or is there a way that you can make yourself different and stand out from your competitors that are doing similar things that you are seeking to do? This is important understanding because the demographics of the community that you are seeking to serve is going to be important for you to know how to structure your nonprofit organization. Knowing what are their ages, what are some of their challenges, what languages or religious beliefs do they have, what are the legalities of the community that you're going to serve, especially if it's overseas. Knowing that you've done your research will help you to understand how to establish that nonprofit organization and what it will take to be successful. The next thing is having a strategic plan. This is important. As as a believer in the Bible, it says Habakkuk 2:2, write it down and make it plain. And it's important to understand, yes, you can have the dream or the vision in your head, but writing it down on paper helps you to walk through the process, helps you to bring down the logistics to make it feasible to bring this vision of a nonprofit organization to pass. And that strategic plan does not have to be as detailed as such. You don't have to go into a 10-year plan, but at least look over the basics. What will it take to start this nonprofit organization? How much money will it cost for the operations? What are the annual fees that you may have to pay in order to keeping certain regulations from the state, from your local government, or from the federal government? Also, an understanding what are some of the services and products that you will have to buy in order to provide the services that you're seeking to serve in the community. And as I already alluded to, knowing the guidelines. What are the guidelines for the county that you are going to be having your nonprofit established? It is different for every municipality, but also understanding from a state level. In the state of Florida may be different from the state of New York, and how to establish your nonprofit organization, what is needed to establish and register your nonprofit organization. And of course, from the federal level, especially from the IRS, when you are doing your tax ID, or you're trying to establish yourself, or even filing your taxes for your nonprofit organization, and understanding what are the requirements at the federal level to be able to be established as a reputable nonprofit organization. Now, when we look at understanding what it takes to establish this nonprofit organization and the benefits, I always tell people there are benefits being in the nonprofit sector. And you'll be surprised that sometimes those benefits outweigh the benefits for businesses. Because when it comes to a nonprofit entity, there are a lot of tax benefits for nonprofit organizations from an organization itself, as well as from the donors or the contributors to that organization. When we look at understanding that establishing yourself as a nonprofit organization, doing your due diligence and researching the processes and what it would take from initiating the nonprofit organization, establishing your nonprofit organization, as well as if there's a quarterly or annual things that you have to do in order to stay credible and reputable in the community that you're serving. You don't want to be considered a fly-by-night organization, meaning that you're here today and you're gone next week, or you're gone next month, or you're gone next year. In order to establish yourself for the long haul is doing your due process and knowing what it will take to keep that organization running on a yearly basis. That's why I always encourage nonprofit organizations to become a 501c3. I say that because the 501c3 status at the federal level, because there are some states that also have 501c3 status, such as the state of Florida, but at the federal level for the nonprofit status of a 501c3, it opens doors of opportunities on various levels. As I alluded to, it is benefits from the organization as well as from the donors. Let's talk about from the donors' perspective. From the donors' perspective, they have an opportunity to have their donations, especially monetary, tax deductible. This is a great benefit and encourages individuals to give to nonprofit organizations, especially for those who make income more than $200,000, because it allows them to be able to decrease their taxes on an annual basis. And having that 501c3 status, when you're requesting monetary donations, you can always say that your donations are tax deductible. If you are registered with the IRS as a 501c3 and you've done your annual reportings and requirements in order to stay as a 501c3 organization. As well, it provides access to grants and other resources. I will tell you, during this pandemic, many nonprofit organizations who have done their due diligence, they had a great foundation. They knew their mission, their vision, their purpose. They've had their papers in place. They've had their financial institution established. They've done their due diligence to have from the county level, the state level, and the federal level to have all their processes in place. They were able to receive not only grants, but also loans with very, very low APR rates. And that's why I encourage people, especially during this pandemic, go back and review your paperwork. Is everything in place? Because we don't know how long this pandemic will be. And I will guarantee you that the longer this pandemic is here, the more opportunities that the government will put resources out there for not just for-profit organizations, but nonprofit organizations as well. So that is key. That is vital. And that's why I always say it is important to do the research of what you're getting into and having the proper people in place. As I will go later on to discuss why it's important to have an attorney and a tax preparer as part of your team when it comes to your nonprofit organization. The other thing is when we talk about the nonprofit organization for the 501c3 status, when you are a 501c3 at the federal level, all your papers are in place. You can also be established as a fiscal agent for another entity. That means that because you are a 501c3 status, you have opportunities for discounts or not having to pay taxes on certain things, especially when it comes to major events or making major purchases, that an entity can use you as a fiscal agent. It's almost as if they're partnering with you, but they're using you as a fiscal agent to receive the donations, to receive the funds that are coming through. So it can be filtered through you as a nonprofit organization to receive those benefits. So that other entity that is partnering with you and using you as a fiscal agent do not have to worry about taxes or other expenses that may come because they are for-profit as opposed to a nonprofit organization. Now, when we talk about objective 3 and understanding the keys to success in establishing and growing your nonprofit organization, I will tell you here is where we are with the meats and the potatoes of this presentation. I always say it is great to have a vision, but it's also great to have people to help you to bring that vision to come to pass. And that's why it's key to have an effective and efficient board. When we're talking about a board, when you're registering through the federal government or other governmental entities, they most likely will ask you at least for 3-person board. But when we're talking about the overall objective of what a board should look like for a nonprofit organization, it should have the following positions. The president. The president may or may not be the person who's bringing the vision to pass. This person is leading the organization. They have the executive power and capacities to guide the board as well as the decisions on behalf of the nonprofit organization. The vice president is the person's right-hand person. The treasurer. This is the person who will be taking care of the finances. And I always say it doesn't necessarily have to be an accountant or someone with professionally trained financial capacity, but it's someone who understands details, who understands how to dot their I's and cross their T's. Because orange is not the new black. You don't want to be held up in some legalities because of your funding. And that's why I say when it comes to the treasurer, there's many organizations and resources out there that will provide training for treasurers and how to be fiscally responsible for nonprofit organizations so you do not fall into trouble, as well as opportunities to be able to be more aware and knowing how to function with such as QuickBooks and other financial accounting resources that are user-friendly for someone who is not a professionally trained accountant or a tax preparer. The other thing is a secretary. Your secretary is vital for your nonprofit organization. The reason is because your secretary is keeping records, keeping track, archiving the process and the paperwork for your nonprofit organization. I will tell you, as not only as a founder, but as a board member, it can get crazy when you're trying to keep track of your papers. Remembering when you have to send your taxes to the IRS. Remembering when you have to re-register or renew your organization for your local government, whether at the state level or the county level, and as well as all the other paperwork that comes with being a nonprofit organization. So having someone who is also careful with paying attention to details and as well as is organized, because being the secretary for a nonprofit organization, whether it's a new organization or an established organization, there's a lot of paperwork that comes along the way, and you want to make sure that this person has the capacity and understanding how to keep records properly. Now, when we talk about the other aspect, this is not a part of your board per se, but I think it's also important for success for nonprofit organizations, having advisors. And the three advisors that I would pinpoint for today is having a mentor. This may be a paid or non-paid person. This individual is someone who has the expertise and an understanding what it takes to start a nonprofit organization, as well as what it takes to operate and grow a nonprofit organization. This person will be able to give you insight and guide you through the process of how to stay established as a reputable, effective, and efficient nonprofit organization. And the reason why I'm saying this is because when it comes to nonprofit organizations, they are just like churches, so to say, that, you can go down a block and there's like 10 churches on one block. It's the same thing with nonprofit organizations, but having a mentor or a coach or a consultant to walk you through that process will help you to pivot yourself properly so you can be there for the long haul. The next advisor that you should have in your team is an accountant. This person will help you to understand what are the financial regulations, or fiscal regulations that are in place for being a nonprofit organization in the country that you're serving, in the state that you're serving, as well as in the county that you may be serving. This person will also help you to understand how to file your taxes on an annual basis, and if there are any things that you need to know from a financial standpoint, especially as it comes to if you're applying for grants, if you're getting resources from the government or other entities, to be able to have that person in your back pocket is key. It is vital. The next one, of course, is an attorney. You need an attorney that understands the nonprofit laws. This is not just someone, it's just like in the healthcare or any other industry that there are specialties, there are specialists. So there's an area of the legal system that is for the nonprofit organizations, is an attorney that understands those properties of the laws when it pertains to the nonprofit organization. They will guide you along the process, what you can and can't do based on the country that you're in, the state that you're in, as well as the resources and the services that you are providing to the communities that you have identified. The other thing is realizing when it comes to your nonprofit organization, to establish it and take it to the next level, is publicity. Publicizing your success, publicizing your accomplishments. This is vital because when, they used to tell us don't toot your own horn, but that has all changed with social media. It is important to have social media presence, and finding out which social media platforms is suitable for you depends on the community you're serving and who you are serving. The other thing is being transparent with your finances. There's a lot of entities and organizations out there that talk about financial transparency for nonprofit organizations, whether you are big or small. This is important to understand, that especially for your donors or those that have given at least in-kind donations, and understanding they want to know where the money is going. And also it helps you to also attract potential donors. So you can show that you can account for every dollar that has been given to you, that you are fiscally responsible and you are doing the work that you said you're doing for the community that you seek to serve. The other thing is important to understand is partnering with other organizations. Those organizations may or may not be doing similar things that you are doing, but I will tell you, partnership has been a great success, especially during this pandemic. Because of limited resources, because of limited funding, nonprofit organizations are partnering with others to not only be able to serve the communities, but as well as reaching a broader audience. And it has also helped them, for both organizations, to get more publicity, success, and be able to reach the goals and dreams that they seek to achieve. I always say that when it comes to growing your needs of the community that you are serving, it's okay to start small, but over time, you should be moving forward to how can you continue growing and addressing the needs of the communities that you have identified, whether it's locally or abroad. As I say in this season, nonprofit is where it is at. And I hope that this presentation has provided some insight on how to establish or grow your nonprofit organization. Once again, I am Dr. Fayola Dalika. I am your passion and purpose activator. I am passionate about nonprofit organizations because there's a special place for nonprofit organizations in our communities. You can find me on all social media platforms, so I invite you to come and reach out to me, as well as you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Clubhouse. You can DM me or even email me at info@fayoladalika.com. This is the season and the time, nonprofit professionals, it is your time to rise. Let's go.